So now I am very honored to announce first keynote speech from Ms. Alison Jones from Stellantis. Ms. Jones is Senior Vice President, Global Circular Economy, and she will present a speech with the title of Circular Economy, Our Industrial and Innovative Growth. We are really very proud that Ms. Jones is coming today. You have to know that naturally Stellantis is a big number of different companies now, brands, like Peugeot, Citroën, Fiat. We were honored of the presence of Fiat inside our steering committee for many years with Mr. Francisco Bonino. And it was really a great pleasure always to share information and construction of this organization with Fiat, and now becoming naturally Stellantis. So yes, please, Ms. Jones, if you want to take the floor is yours for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Hello and good morning, everybody. So, as I said, I'm Alison Jones, and I'm here with my colleague Frédéric Rivel, as well as we represent Stellantis here today. And I thank you for the opportunity to find out more about what we are doing within Stellantis. Thought we would put our brands up first because not everybody knows all the cars, van, truck brands that we now represent. We come together as a merger of FCA, so Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, and PSA, so Persian Citroën Automobiles. But you can see our range of car, van, and truck brands that we have and we sell and manufacture all around the world. And we have said as a company that we want to lead our industry as the OEM and be carbon net zero by 2038. That is an ambitious goal, and it's one that our circular economy team and activities that we operate around the world contribute significantly to. So if you hear about us within Stellantis Circular Economy, we are putting everything together under our Sustain Era label about making a better future for everybody. So you can see that on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side is the chart that I normally use to explain circular economy activities. Of course, I don't need to do that in this room today. But the idea is that with the green icons, you can see the activities and the areas that we focus on in circular economy within Stellantis. And it starts at the top in the design for circular economy, the design of our vehicles and our products in two regards. So in terms of those products, we've got some examples on the right-hand side. An OEM presentation would be nothing without some pictures of our beautiful cars. And you can see for the Chrysler Halcyon concept that was developed in the Detroit team, we've got 95% recycled interiors. And for the Citroën Olé concept developed in our European team, you can see that the interiors have been developed to have 80% less parts than a traditional seat. And they're made of 100% recycled material, and they're 100% recyclable. So this is not just strategy, this is implementation. And so our designers and engineers always look to see how they can increase the amount of recycled or green material in our products, and also how we can make sure those products last as long as possible. And then when you can't make them last as long as possible, how we can then recycle them. Currently, our vehicles contain between 20 and 30% green material within them already. It varies by model, but that's the range that we already have. And as a team and as a company, we have made the commitment that we will have, for any vehicle launched from 2030, it will have 40% green material within it. So that's recycled and biomaterial. That's a significant step from where we are, but it's one that we are determined to achieve. So that's our designing for circular economy. We do it within our vehicles, and we're starting to do it within our part components as well. You go round the loop that you know, so we buy, manufacture, we sell, and we deliver those vehicles. And then we come in within circular economy to support and enhance that usage phase. So how can you extend the life of those products? How can we extend the life of our parts as well? And I will explain that in the next few charts. And we use that One, to be able to extend the life of the materials, but also to understand and develop products and materials for the future. So it goes back in to the design phase. When we can't extend that as long as possible, we drop down, of course, manage the products at the end of life, which you know, and that's an area I will come on to talk about, and recycling. But our strap line is all about using less material within the products and the parts that we produce, using it for as long as we possibly can, and then when you can't use it any longer, how do we recycle? These are our big statistics. So circular economy focuses on the 4 areas. So we've got remanufacturing, repair, which includes reconditioning, reuse, and recycle. And the big 3 pillars that we're operating underneath is to have a material impact. So we know our remanufactured parts save up to 80% of raw material compared to OE parts, which is significant. And that really contributes, and we're driving, as we said, with the material that we need to get back into our loop to delivering that 40% target that I spoke about. So any vehicle launched from 2030 will have 40% of green material within it. Our carbon net zero contribution, we know that parts that are remanufactured have up to 50% non-emitted CO2, which is significant. And you can see in our Dare Forward Stellantis strategy that we launched in 2021 as a global company, we said that circular economy activities would contribute an additional 2 billion euros revenue per year from the year 2030. And we're well on our way to delivering that target. So these are some of the activities and projects that we focus on and we're working on. So along the top, you can see the parts and service offers that we provide to our dealer networks, to our customers, to enable them to have an affordable solution, a sustainable solution, but with the same quality as any original part. So the first section is remanufacturing. We work in terms of remanufacturing parts, so those parts that you strip down, you use the components that you've already got, the engineering that you know, you add some new components, clean them up, and then you provide a remanufactured unit. We can sell that then to customers for between 20 and 30% less than the cost of an OE part, and increasingly more sustainable. So as I said, up to 80% less raw material than if you had an original part. That's an important part of our pillar because it's about extending the life of those components that were typically being discarded or recycled. And we're always looking for innovation and suppliers to work with to be able to extend all of these solutions, and we work on it globally. So we often develop products in one part of the world, and then we're able to use them and develop them and manufacture them in other parts of the world. So we have teams working in Detroit, in the US, and in Europe, in Italy, France, and Germany, developing these products. And we work with suppliers and are keen to be able to develop that product portfolio that we have. In terms of the second section, it's repair. It's well known within the OE world, and if you're a customer driving a vehicle, a repair is a usual part of what we do. But what we're looking to do and continue to do is expand the products that can be repaired. Historically, something may have been thrown away, put into the scrap cycle, when actually you can now develop them. So multimedia units, dashes, electronics that historically didn't have an easy, and I use that word loosely, easy repair method, we are always looking to expand that opportunity. The third part is the reuse. Reuse we develop is about connecting people's scrapyards, dismantlers as yourselves with the end customers. And we have our B-Parts e-commerce platform that enables us to do that. We sell in over 120 countries, and we source parts from dismantlers. So if you are a scrapyard dismantler and you are keen to have a route to our network or to our customers, then this e-commerce platform is for you. And increasingly, we roll it out into more countries. So currently, we're rolling it out in the US. We've started with 5 states, including the Michigan state, and we will progressively roll it out. But dismantlers that are on that platform can assure customers of quality, of reliability, of delivery of service, And we are finding that insurance companies are becoming more interested in actually using reused parts, used parts, in their vehicles, because what it does for their customers is it provides a more affordable solution, and it provides more affordable insurance, which is great for all of us as citizens and for customers of insurance companies. So it's a key part of what we're doing in the reuse platform. And then we have selling of recycled products. So this is not about recycling, but what we've got and we've launched is things like fluids are the latest example of where we have got recycled fluids, so washer and coolant fluid that we can actually sell as a recycled product. And again, we're looking for innovative suppliers in this area, people to be able to work with. We have a global tender ongoing at the moment, but this is an area that can really then contribute to us as customers and our customers in terms of having a green service contract or a maintenance contract for your vehicles. Fluids is a big part of that service and maintenance and enables us to do that. And all of them, as I said, provide an affordability for customers and also a quality. There is never a compromise on quality. And so this is great in terms of us all moving towards a sustainable solution that is economically viable and affordable for our customers and of the same quality. And then we have the other activities that as a circular economy team, we work across our organisation. So parts recycling, which parts can we recycle? What other areas can we look at? And we've got some examples here. High voltage batteries, alloy wheels, catalytic converters, bumpers. We are always looking for, once we cannot extend the life, how we can then recycle. We've got alloy wheel recycling operating in Europe, operating in North America, and we want to expand it across other regions. We take those alloy wheels, we bring them back, we put them through a process with some of our supplier partners, and we reintroduce them into our foundries and into our steel mills and into our stamping plants. And that's where we then look to develop the next section, which is closed loop recycling. You know this area really well. We have examples in different regions. What we need to do is have examples across every region of systematically having closed-loop recycling, because that is an aspect that we all have to handle in terms of being able to reuse material rather than go and mine it, source it from somewhere else. And so the closed-loop recycling starts with our foundries, with our stamping plants, and material that we've been good at historically recycling. Our vehicles are up to 95% recoverable and 85% recyclable. But what's been happening is some of that material has been going outside of the automotive industry. So it's still being recycled, but in terms of us being able to increase our recycled content in our new vehicles, it's critical that we work to improve that closed loop and work with you to be able to do that. And then we have end-of-life vehicles. So an area, again, that you manage very heavily, and we have to get involved in and want to be from our extended producer responsibility. End-of-life vehicles is a source of material, and it's a service to customers, and in some countries, to enable them to stop abandoned vehicles being left on the side of roads or left in police compounds. And we are actively participating in that with our network of dismantlers. We will never do it all ourselves, and we don't want to. But what we do want to do is access that material. So provide the service to countries to enable them, and customers to enable them to return their vehicles easily. Provide a service with governments to enable vehicles to be kept off the roads, in terms of being abandoned, but also accessing that material in a way that enables us to process it through partners or with ourselves and get back into vehicles for the future, a true circular economy loop. And I've put our challenge is to build the next thing. There are many, many different activities, many different opportunities within circular economy activities. The opportunities are there. The challenge, or the complex problem solving, is how to realize it. And plastics is a hot topic. How do you really generate recycled plastic to enable us to put that into our new vehicles and our parts and our components? I'll focus for one moment on high voltage batteries. It's a very hot topic. You can see currently raw material is taken, you put it into the battery, you create an electric vehicle which includes the battery, and we would say you have to consider the vehicle including the battery, and that's part of the challenge with the legislation at the moment. There is battery legislation and there is vehicle legislation. For us and for customers, it's one product. It's one vehicle including the battery, and it needs to be considered in that way. You can then take your vehicle, if it doesn't work for whatever reason, to a repair, to be able to be repaired. And you can see we have the 4 areas. Our batteries can be repaired. So it's an important part for affordability for our customers and also for material that batteries can be repaired. So most of our vehicles are repairable. They are also then remanufacturable. So we have expert centres, including in Rüsselsheim in Germany and in Torino in Italy, that can remanufacture. For people outside of the industry, we would explain that as a heavy repair with specialist skills required to do it, which is why we bring them back to a central area. There's a low volume at the moment, obviously, because our vehicles are still on the road and we don't have a very high failure rate. But what it does mean, as that car market increases and that van market increases, is we will have remanufactured batteries that can then be swapped into vehicles after the end of the warranty period. We offer an 8-year warranty already on our batteries. But if, as a customer, you are involved in a collision with your vehicle, or you then start to be outside of the warranty period, having a repair and having a remanufacturability on batteries is really key to enable you to continue to have an affordable vehicle where the residual value of your vehicle is held up. And so that's why we focus and think this is a really important part of what we're doing. And you can see that the legislators are also considering it to be an important part. And it also means you're using that material. You're not just recycling it and replacing with new. And then you've got reuse. So in the area of batteries, again, we would look to provide them as batteries, but when they become beyond what they can be used in a vehicle, there are different reuse programs. And if you follow us, you will see that we have various programs that we are trialing and piloting with different institutes, different universities, different organizations, as you work out how those batteries and what we want to do with those batteries in the future. And then we have recycling. So we already, around all of the regions that we sell electric vehicles in, have a network of recycling partners who will bring those batteries back and be able to process them, either through the repair, the reman, or the recycling. And we thank you for that, for those of you in this room who are involved in that. And in addition, we have a memorandum of understanding that's been signed with Orano to have our own battery recycling in both Europe and in North America. Because as we see the move to electrification increasing, we see there is a requirement for us to be able to participate in that, to enable us to have access to that material and to be able to deliver our responsibilities as our extended producer responsibilities. And that's why we have done it. So this is then Valor Auto. So on the end of life, you will have heard and you will know, particularly here in this region, about our relationship with Galoo in terms of having a joint venture which is for the take-back of cars. So it's a joint venture between Stellantis and Galoo, and it's called Valor Auto. And what that does is that provides to our customers the ability for them to be able to bring their vehicle back and for us to then process it through dismantling a network, through partners or in-house, to enable us to be able to access that raw material, keep abandoned vehicles off of streets and off of countries and clean up countries. And it started in France and Benelux. Belux. But it also enables us to deliver our extended producer responsibilities. And we really strongly support the individual system working with a network of dismantler partners. And the reason we strongly support that is for all the things that I have said before. We are looking as a company at how we design vehicles and parts so that we can extend their life, and so eventually we can make them more easily recyclable. We have teams trying to work out how you do closed loops and working with yourselves and with other supplier partners to be able to look for that innovation. And then we have the end of life. The individual system enables us to work across all those components. And if you think we are working across all those activities in all different regions of the world, and sometimes in specific countries where they have closed customs and trading laws, then you can see the scale of what we are already trying to do. And that's why having it as an individual system is really important, because the diversity is already so wide that for us to then be able to go into a different system would add complexity and actually slow down the movement of what we're trying to do in terms of our delivery and our commitment. I put this chart up just to give you, this is some of the activities that we have that sit beneath what we're doing to enable us to do some of these things. So we have material sourcing. We have a back-in-the-box system, which is what it says. So when parts go out to our dealer networks around the world, they can put the used part or the failed part back in a box, return it to us to enable us to use that material somewhere else. We have circular economy hubs. So we have different locations that are doing remanufacturing, vehicle reconditioning, vehicle dismantling, core sorting, so sorting of material. And we have said we'll have a combination of hubs that have centres of excellence, so they have all activities, and some that are local. And then we work with partners as well. We will never do this wholly ourselves, but what these hubs give us is an ability to be able to use our engineering skills, our design skills to develop for the future, to learn what we can do, and to be able to develop other activities as well. And we've committed that we are expanding that both locally and globally. Locally is normally within a country, so a closed country such as Brazil or Turkey, closed for customs and tariffs and what can move, and then sometimes across regions as well. And we're already present in terms of our ability to provide these parts, sell these parts, remanufactured parts, reused parts in Europe, North America, South America, Middle East, Africa. We have a small contingent in India, Asia Pacific, and also in China. So you can see we are truly global in what we do, and we are already active. This is not a strategy, it's already implemented. So I take the opportunity as I stand up here today to say, what do we want to achieve together? I know many different diverse organisations represented here today. So we want to improve know-how. We're doing that internally, and we do it with supplier partners, and we do it with people like yourselves. So how do you design to recycle? Many of you involved at the end-of-life vehicles, and if I ever speak to any of you, will tell me there are some real practical challenges in dismantling vehicles that if we fixed it at the front end, would make it easier at the point we came to do that. And better understanding that value chain. I've spoken about that in terms of what we're trying to do. We want to optimize the value from the waste stream. So that's about accessing material to contribute to that 40% in new vehicles, as I spoke. And that's accessing the secondary raw materials, both from a regulatory perspective, but also our personal CSR goals that are ahead of the legislation. There are some practical challenges as organisations in terms of some of the legislation on batteries and recycled content in new batteries. We agree with the direction, but if you think you're trying to transition all of us as drivers into electric vehicles, increase the volume of electric vehicles on the road, at the same time extend the life of those electric vehicles as long as we can, so 14 years, 15 years, 20 years, what is the new number? And then at the very end of that, take that material and recycle it. But the legislation is trying to increase recycled content at the moment. Well, that will not come from the current vehicles on the road. So how are we going to do that? As I said, I think last night, to some of you, it's a mathematical challenge that we need to address. It's a big contribution what we do to carbon reduction. So we have a choice of working with supplier partners who can give us the innovations, the material to be able to do that, and that's what we're really keen to do. And we are very determined to be compliant with our extended producer responsibility. I'm here if you've got any questions. I know we'll move on to the next one, but thank you for listening. Please speak to Frederick or I outside. This is really important for us in terms of making as many connections as possible to enable us to deliver on our goals and our collective goals as citizens on this planet. Thank you.
If I can give you also this small gift and the Swiss knife because it's it's such a symbol of the Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Naturally, we have time for questions. Maybe on my side, just an addition to your very complete and detailed presentation. Thank you very much, Ms. Jones, for this. Just regarding this joint venture we created, my company and yours, on this question of recycling vehicle, it doesn't come from scratch. We work together. At this time, it was with Citroën Belgium in the 90s, so 30 years ago. We created this activity of really investing together with Citroën Belgium and Citroën France and Peugeot after that in France for all those last 30 years. So yes, after all this common work together, at the end, last year, we achieved this creation of a joint venture. But just, I think it's important to quote this long time schedule, if I can say, because all this question of recycling vehicle is a long-term process. It's not something we can just take from a box and just say with a magic wand, we can create something very fast. It takes time. It takes, we have to build trust together, to build something together, and it's not so easy between the car manufacturer and the recycling industry to build trust, because it's not so, I mean, if we look at the history of the recycling industry, we didn't work with the car manufacturer at first. We worked naturally with the steel mills, for example, the steel producer, because we produce the recycled steel and we sell it to the steel manufacturers. But now you came into the game, if I can say. You want to achieve the decarbonization of the vehicle. And naturally, if we look at the decarbonization of the vehicle, the steel is probably the first item to take into account. And we know that you and many other car manufacturers, you are now investing a lot in this question of decarbonization of steel, because it will be, steel is 70% of a car is steel. Thermal engine vehicle or electric vehicle, 70% of the weight of the vehicle is steel. So naturally, we know that this question of steel decarbonization is very important. But okay, we know that there will be some discussion about that during those 3 days, so it's really great. We have certainly time for questions to you, Ms. Jones, in the audience. So please, if there is some questions, it will be nice to have an exchange with the room. Yes, please. There is a microphone coming.
Average recycled content in the Stellantis cars is 20 to 30%.
I'm not sure the microphone is working.
Do you hear me if I speak? Okay.
Yes, it works.
Hello, Maarten Dubois. You mentioned that around 20 to 30% of the Stellantis, that the recycled content in Stellantis cars is around 20 to 30%. The target is to go to 40%. Like, in which material fractions do you expect the big gains? Is it metals? Is it plastics? Is it textiles? Where do you expect the big steps to be made?
Yes, so currently between 20 and 30%, and that just depends by model. So I gave you an average, and the target is 40. So you're right, it's steel, aluminium, plastics will be the next one as well, and then there's other aspects within it. But we know we're working with our steel partners and within our foundries to say, okay, how much more green steel can we get within our vehicles? Aluminium or aluminum is the next one, and plastics. And plastics is harder because of the mixed nature of plastics when it comes out of vehicles, but they're the top three that we need to work on, and then there's other parts, but that's generally where it is.
I have a question on my side. You mentioned the French organization, which is now a new regulation which is at stake in France, organizing this question of extended producer responsibility and the involvement of the car manufacturers in the business or in the organization of the ELV treatment and recycling. But for the moment, to my knowledge, it's only in France that this organization is set and this new regulation is ongoing. We know, and we are there to discuss about it, of the new European regulation. We know probably that there will be some EPR consideration also in the new European regulation, but it's not absolutely clear that we will go in a kind of homogeneous EPR organization in Europe. Do you feel that this is a problem for you, the fact that every country, at this moment, every country is organizing EPR its own way? I mean, in Belgium, we know, and Catherine Leenaerts, who presented Febelotto a few minutes ago, it's a very different organization of EPR as we have in France now, for example. So how do you see the future, the very short-term future, regarding this evolution? Because for you, car manufacturer, I guess you hope for a kind of, let's say, homogeneous EPR scheme in Europe. Do you think this will come, or do you have some fear about that?
I don't know if it will come. We would support an individual system in each country. We're very used to operating with different regulations in different countries. So you think about type approval. So the approval you need to get for a new vehicle, it's different by country. I mean, in European, so we have a European type approval, which is helpful. But we are very used to operating in a different environment. We would say, and we were talking, we've got a colleague who operates our Spanish, effectively individual system for us. And it comes back to what I said about, the ability to be able to operate across all parts of the value chain is more important for us, because this is such a complex but exciting part of the industry to be able to do it. So we would say it's more about the practical way that you do it. So our request for legislators is don't overly complicate it. Deal with the people who are operating illegally, deal with certificates of destruction, but enable us to be able to participate alongside all the different industries we have in here to deliver that, because it becomes a practical challenge, doesn't it? How do you make it operate? That's more important for us. So we would request individual systems within each European country to enable us to be able to do what we need to do.
Thank you very much.
That's okay.
Yes, please, Jan. Oh, sorry, there was another. Okay, sorry. Yes, please.
Hear me? You can hear me? Yeah. Peterson, I represent a closed-loop plastic recycler also for the automotive. Thank you for your contributions. I'd be keen to listen more. I was listening with some interest also on your Back in the Box initiative, and I can imagine there's been a journey around that. I would love to hear more if you can share a couple of the highlights perhaps.
Yeah, so it's definitely a journey. You can imagine any logistics system has a journey to it, and also making it easy. So if you think we have Distrigo hubs in Europe, which are large warehouse hubs, that our partners, our franchise partners operate. And so what you can imagine, if you're sending parts out, you're returning parts. As an industry, we are quite used to having warranty parts returned. But then tracking them and the back in the box is trying to make them track more easily, more readily. And then being able to physically process those parts has been the journey. So yes, we can share more with you. So we've got it operating in European countries, but in some countries where we have an importer relationship, we need to implement it there as well. It's definitely helped. It's helped so much in making it easy to track parts and track material. And all of you know, if you bring a part back that's one thing, and then you start to break it out into other things, that makes it more difficult. That's our next part of our challenge. But back in the box means that we can get those material flows working in an easier way, and we need to do it. So the MEA region is next, because then you go, well, physically, then where do you send it? But it's definitely been a journey, yeah, and it's not finished yet by any means.
Thank you. So yes, please, Jan.
Yeah, Jan Bolle from ArcelorMittal. I take interest in what I see on the slide on design for recycling, because you will procure products with more recycled content, but how will you make that across the value chain in the end of life that this is possible? So what would change in the cars to make the recycling more feasible?
Yeah, so again, like you're talking, it's a legacy. You know, a vehicle, you design a vehicle, it goes on the road and you hope that it lasts a really long time. So we're talking about 20 to 30 years. But whenever I speak with you in this room, and the European metal recycling team are here, and they've got MBA polymers and the plastic, they'll go, why have you got 13 different steel grades in a vehicle. Why don't you just have 5 or whatever the number is to start? And that's where we need to then look with designers and engineers. And when I was speaking last night, we said it's come through safety over time. You know, as product metals, aluminiums, plastics have developed, safety is paramount for us. Crash tests are paramount for us, for our customers, and that will never, ever be compromised. But now, because of the developments over tens of years, you're like, can I go back and can we look at only using a different number of steels or different mixtures of material to enable that? So that's why we're trying to start now. It will be a very long journey, but that's why I like meetings and sessions like this, because actually you challenge our thinking. We go back into our designers and engineers and then say, okay, how can we do that? But it'll be a very long road. But that's when we look for innovation. If when you're dismantling or you're recycling at the end and you go, look, if you did this differently, that will enable us in future years to be far more efficient or effective. That's what we need to think about, but it will take time, just because of the length of time it takes to develop, implement, and then live with our wonderful vehicles.
Just in order to stay in time, yes, one last question. Willy, please.
Mr. Jones, just to come back on your EPR and about your strategy to go to an individual system in every market. Reality is today that your company in several markets belong to a collective system with regard to EPR responsibilities. So, and experience has shown that in those countries where you are part of a collective system, seems to be much more efficient with regard to your obligations to meet the EPR responsibilities. So maybe it would be good to reconsider that position a little bit. I'm not so sure, because we know that in those countries where you follow an individual system, the results are not so good. That's a fact. Okay, so maybe think about that.
We would say that because of the number of brands and the number of vehicles that we've got and the products we've got in the market, as I've explained, the practical challenge and opportunity that we have, we can work directly with dismantlers, with post-shredder treatment, you know, all of you in this room today, to be able to deliver that in an efficient way. And that's why we're advocating what we're advocating. If you're in a smaller organization or you've got a lower number of vehicles that you're responsible for, a collective system may work, but for us, we think with the scale that we've got and the range that we've got, that's why we are strongly, strongly advocating an individual system. But yeah, it's a subjective point, so we can discuss.
Thank you very much. I think you stay with us this day. Okay, so if there is any other question, please go and see and meet Ms. Jones so we can organize, because we have to go on the schedule. Again, thank you very much, Ms. Jones, for your...
Thank you.